lesson 5-7, you're going to solve problems using a percent equation. A percent equation is an equivalent form of a percent proportion in which the percent is written as a decimal. Remember, the percent is equal to the part over the whole. So if I take both sides of this and multiply it by the whole, what's going to happen over here is the wholes will cancel, and you have the part is equal to the percent times the whole. So this right here, you're going to want to make sure you have in your notes that the percent equation is the part is equal to the percent times the whole. And that percent you have to use in its decimal form. So our first example where we're trying to find the part, it says find 6% of 525. Well, the part actually, I'm not going to use P, I'm going to use N. N, or the part, is equal to the percent, written as a decimal. 6% as a decimal, remember, is 0.06 or 600ths, times the whole, and the of 25, remember, of signifies the whole amount. So the part is going to equal 0.06 times 525. You're going to want to grab a calculator. 525 times 0.06, that's 31 and 5/10. So 6% of 525 is 31 and 5/10. You may want to pause the video and try the next two on your own. What number is 35% of 88? So what number, we're looking for the part again, is, that word is the equal sign, 35% of 88. The 35% we're going to write as a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left. 35% is 0.35. And then of 88, that's our whole, so multiply it by 88. You can also think of the word of as multiply. So now we're going to go ahead and take 0.35 or 35 hundredths times 88, and you end up with the part equaling 30 and 8/10. So 35% of 88 is 30 and 8/10. It also is a good idea to look at your answer and see if it makes sense. 6% is not very much when you think of 100% as being a whole. So 6% is going to be a pretty small part of 525, and this is a pretty small number compared to 525. Now 35%, I would think, is close to a third, and a third of about 90 is 30, so this seems very reasonable. Next, find 15% of 275. The part is going to equal 15 hundredths times 275. So the part is going to equal 15 hundredths times 257. Oh, I mean 275. Whoops. We better fix that. That's why it's always a good idea to check your work. So 15 hundredths times 275, that's going to equal 41 and 25 hundredths. 15% of 275 is 41 and 25 hundredths. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find the percent. 420 is what percent of 600? Well, 420 is the part. The percent we don't know, so I'm going to use P for percent. and then times the whole of 600. Now to solve this for p, we're going to have to divide both sides by 600. And we're going to end up with p equaling 420 divided by 600. And that's going to equal 7/10. Now what you have to remember here is if it's the percent you're looking for, you need to change your answer at the end to the percent form. So 7/10 is 70%. That's why I chose to use p as my variable in this problem. So when I got to the end, my brain said p is percent, so I need to make sure that I write my answer as a percent. You may want to pause the video and try the next couple on your own. 62 is, so that's the part, equal to what percent? We don't know, so I'm going to use p of 186. So multiply by 186. And now we're going to take and divide both sides by 186. So we're going to end up with p equaling 62 divided by 186. .3 repeating. So as a percent, since we need a percent, we're going to move it 2 to the right. And since these are all 3's, it's going to be 33.3 repeating, or 33 1/3%. All right, what percent of 750 is 6? Well, the part is 6. The percent we don't know, and then the whole is 750 because it says of 750. Now we're going to take and divide both sides by 750. And I'm going to expect a pretty small answer here since the part is only 6 out of 750. 6 divided by 750 is 0.008 or 8 thousandths. Now we need to make that a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right, and it's 8/10 of a percent. All right, the next thing we're going to do is find the whole. 65 is 52% of what number? So 65 is the part. The percent is 52%, so we're going to write that as a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left. And we don't know what the whole is, so let's just use n. Now we're going to divide both sides by 52 hundredths. So 60, that's really messy, but that should say 65 divided by 52 hundredths. And you get the whole equals 125. Next up, 210 is 75% of what number? Well, the part is 210 equals the percent in its decimal form, 75 hundredths, multiplied by what number, and we don't know, so we're going to leave that as n. Now to solve this equation, you're going to divide both sides by 75 hundredths. 210 divided by 75 hundredths is 280. Next up, 54 is 18% of what number? So our part is 54 is 18% as a decimal is 18 hundredths of what number? So we're going to multiply by n, and we're going to divide both sides by 18 hundredths. And you end up with n equaling 54 divided by 18 hundredths. That's 300. All right, the last thing is a couple word problems. Marguerite's parents are buying her a motor scooter. The scooter costs $244. If a 6% sales tax is added, what is the total cost of the scooter? Well, the first method would be to figure out what 6% of $244 is. 6% of $244 would be changing this right here to 0.06 times 244, because we're trying to find 6% of 244. So 0.06 times 244, and that's going to equal $14.64. That's going to be the tax. So now to figure out the total is going to be the price of the scooter plus the tax. So the total is going to be $244 plus $14.64. That's going to be $258.64. Now that's the way I think most of you would do this. However, there is kind of a shortcut way, and that is to think of it this way. If you're going to pay a 6% sales tax, you have to pay for the whole item, which is 100%, plus the 6% sales tax, which means we're going to try and figure out what 106% is to get the total, because you pay the whole amount plus 6% tax. So we're going to try and figure out what 106% of $244 is. To figure out 106% of $244, we're going to write the 106% as its decimal form, which was 1 600ths, and then multiply that by the whole, which is 244. And that comes out to $258.64. Basically, this method gets you to the final answer in one step instead of having to take the tax and adding it on. Next example, Paige earned $250 before taxes working at a movie theater. If 23% of her pay is withheld for taxes, that means it's taken out, how much is her take-home pay? So this time we're going to figure out what 23% of 250 is. 23% of $250 is going to be multiplying the decimal form of the number, 23 hundredths, times the amount, which is 250. So 0.23 times 250 is 57.5 is what I see on the calculator, but since we're talking about money, you want to add that zero on the end. $57.50 is how much they're going to withhold. So her take-home pay is going to be $250 minus the $57.50. So this time we're subtracting it instead of adding it. So $250 minus $57.50, that's going to be $192.50. Again, you want to add that extra zero onto the end since we're talking about money. And to do it in the one-step method, if you're going to withhold 23% of the pay, you're going to do 100% minus 23%, which would be 77% is what she's actually going to make. So we're going to try and figure out what 77% of $250 is. 77% is 77 hundredths, and we're going to multiply that by the whole, which is 250. And we get the same thing that we got with our other method, $192.50.